All right, let's just jump right into this explainer and set the stage for decoding one of the absolute greatest paradoxes in ancient texts. It's a question that has literally baffled scholars and seekers for centuries. If the divine trinity created the entire universe, who on earth or, in the heavens created them? Today we're going to unpack the mystery of the origins of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva and see what the ancient scriptures are actually trying to tell us.
We're basically going to act as mythological detectives today. We'll explore exactly why the Vedic and Puranic texts give completely different and honestly sometimes wildly contradictory accounts of how Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva were born. If you've ever read these texts and found yourself totally confused by the shifting timelines, trust me, you are definitely not alone.
Section 1. The Mystery of the Trinity's Birth. To really figure this out, we have to understand a core thesis here. The origin stories differ entirely based on which philosophical sect actually wrote them down. See, each group naturally placed their own preferred deity right at the absolute center of the universe. But, and this is the fascinating part, despite these conflicting origin stories, all the texts surprisingly agree on certain fixed lineages. For instance, they all establish for a fact that Shiva married Brahma's granddaughter Sati, the daughter of Daksha, and Vishnu married Brahma's other granddaughter Lakshmi, the daughter of Brigu.
So the crucial point we need to make is that we have to look beyond literal history. Look, if we try to read these texts like a modern history textbook, we're just going to hit a wall. Instead, we have to decode the allegorical and deeply embellished nature of these stories to find their true underlying philosophical meaning.
Section 2. Different tales in the Puranas.
Okay, check out the sheer contrast between these sources. It's literally a tale of two texts. The Shiva Purana claims that Shiva is Swayambhu, meaning totally self-manifested, and that Vishnu was actually born from nectar rubbed on Shiva's ankle. Wild, right? But then, flip over to the Vishnu Purana, and boom, it insists Vishnu is Swayambhu. It states Brahma was born from Vishnu's navel lotus, and Shiva was born from the intense aura of Vishnu's forehead.
And this actually explains something super interesting from the Vishnu Purana. Have you ever wondered why Shiva is perpetually depicted in deep meditation or a yoga mudra? Well, according to this specific text, it's precisely because he manifested from that intense, focused mental aura of Vishnu's forehead. The imagery there is just absolutely striking.
Section 3. The Pillar of Fire and the Child Form.
Now, according to the Srimad Bhagavat, Brahma and Vishnu were once caught in this massive, ego-driven argument, each claiming to be the superior creator. Suddenly, out of nowhere, this terrifying infinite pillar of fire appears. Neither of them could find its top or its bottom, and from this boundless, totally uncontainable energy, Shiva manifested. It's this incredibly powerful metaphor for pure consciousness just cutting right through ego.
Now flip that fierce image on its head for a second, and let's look at another tale from the Vishnu Purana. Juxtapose that blazing pillar of fire with a story where Brahma, feeling the need for a child to help him in creation, performs severe penance. Suddenly, a crying baby Shiva appears right in his lap. It's the infinite and formless suddenly taking the form of a vulnerable, weeping child.
And when Brahma asks the little guy why he's weeping so bitterly, the child innocently replies that he's crying because his name is not Brahma. This is such a beautiful, poetic moment. It perfectly symbolizes the cycle of innocence, the pure shock of birth, and the reality of earthly manifestation. Because, if there is a childhood, there has to be a beginning and eventually an end to the physical form.
Section 4. The Cosmos and the Scientific Perspective. So, let's look at how these texts mapped out the universe physically. It was structured completely vertically. Think of it like a giant cosmic axis. Vishnu resided down in Patala, the realm below the earthly plane. Above that, Shiva sat on Mount Kailash, right in the middle earthly realm. And high about the atmosphere, up in Swarga, resided Brahma. They weren't just scattered randomly, they were vertically aligned, working together from the respective domains to govern reality.
And here's where it gets really wild. This vertical geographic description actually kind of mirrors modern scientific perspectives. Geological theories suggest that the Tibetan Plateau, which is the earthly location of Mount Kailash, is among the absolute oldest landmasses on Earth. It emerged as the surrounding ancient seas finally receded. Once those waters pulled back, life could eventually flourish and spread outward from that high ground.
Section 5. Additive Shiva and the Creation of the Universe.
Since Shiva was recognized as the very first to attempt the spread of life across our newly formed planet, he earned the pretty magnificent titles of Adi Dev and Adinath. Adi simply means the beginning, so he is officially acknowledged as the first god, or the lord of the very beginning of earthly life.
Actually, here's a really cool linguistic Easter egg for you. If you ever run into Nath Sadhus today, you'll hear them greet each other with the word Adesh. This greeting originates directly from the word Adish, which is just another ancient name for Shiva, stemming right from his role as the original primal lord. But at the end of the day, despite all the back and forth tales of who birthed whom and who is the ultimate supreme being, the texts achieve a profound unity. They all emphatically agree that the Trinity collectively worked to nurture the earth. They weren't solitary, competing figures. This was a divine, unified collaboration. Together, they practically teamed up to expand the population of the planet, making it the vibrant, insanely complex world we inhabit today. They brought forth the Devatas, the Daityas, the Danavas, the celestial Gandharvas and Yakshas, and of course, us Manusha, humans. Every single layer of existence was a joint effort.
So, what's the big takeaway from this whole explainer? It's this: these differing origin stories across the Puranas aren't factual errors or historical mistakes, not at all. They are profound, beautiful allegories. They represent different philosophical centers that, when you finally zoom out, converge on the exact same shared harmonious goal of cosmic creation and sustenance.
As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with something to ponder. Knowing that these texts use deep symbolism to describe the indescribable, ask yourself, which of these symbolic stories, the ankle nectar, the infinite pillar of fire, or the crying child, best helps